Hi guys, it's Newton Prime here again. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Um, Thank you for joining me, and thank you for, of course, subscribing, liking, and sharing. It means a lot to me, guys. It means a whole lot to me. Welcome to another episode of Yoruba Mythology and Folklore. And today we'll be talking about a very popular god, a very popular deity, both in the Yoruba culture and a god whose influence transcends even up till the Mediterranean and Caribbean areas of the world. Yes, Shango is not just worshipped in Nigeria. I'm sure you didn't know that. Shango isn't just worshipped in Nigeria, he's also worshipped all across the world, some key populations across the world. Today's story, I'm going to tell you the origins of Shango and how he rose to power and fame. So stick with me. Today's video is proudly sponsored by Strides and Ripples. Strides and Ripples is an urban footwear that deals with men's shoes, men fashion, and anything men corporate accessories. So you can hit them up on Strides and Ripples or at Strides and Ripples. The link, of course, will be in my description box. Do well to check them out. The story of Shango is quite a funny story, especially his origins. There are different iterations of how Shango came to be. Remember my previous video, I said I am not Yoruba. So forgive me, please forgive me if I happen to get the pronunciations of these deities wrong. So how did Shango come to be and how did he rise to prominence? Shango happens to be the son of two famous deities, Aganju, who happens to be a ferryman here on earth. A ferryman is somebody who of course sails people for a fee across a canal or a river. But in this case, Aganju's job was to sail people across a lake of fire. Yes, it's quite interesting if you think about it. Sailing people across a lake of fire came with a specific price. And on a fateful day, Obatala needed to cross Aganju's territory, which is the lake of fire. And Obatala approached Aganju and told Aganju, please, may I board your ferry to go across this lake, this fiery lake? And Aganju asked for a token. Obatala had none. Obatala could not afford to pay Aganju, which begs the question, is Obatala the founder of the earth? If you followed my previous video, you know that the earth was actually formed by Obatala, so why couldn't he? I don't know. So Obatala went back. Obatala left feeling disappointed, but he had an idea, which happens to be a funny one, by the way. Okay, here it is. Obatala left and transformed his figure into a feminine figure. He literally turned to a woman, and you know where this is going. So Obatala turned himself to a feminine figure and approached Aganju for the second time and told Aganju, I'm trying to mimic, I'm trying to mimic a female's voice. Aganju, may I go across, your lake of fire? And Aganju still demanded a token, but this time it wasn't the usual price. He was kind of a pervert, so he demanded Obatala's feminine body. Mind you, he didn't know it was Obatala, and they both. You understand? I don't want to be censored, but you get the point. And Obatala, in his feminine form, became pregnant for Aganju, and that pregnancy led to the birth of Shango, as we all know today. Now, Shango, being born of two deities, possessed beautiful powers. I call them beautiful because these powers are often associated with terror or mayhem or destruction. But they are beautiful powers if you think about it. And those powers were the command and mastery of lightning, and also the command and mastery of fire after one of his fathers, Aganju. So he was able to control both lightning and fire. And across history, he's usually depicted as a fierce-looking man wielding an axe, a double-edged axe on both sides. Usually lifting his hand to command the powers of lightning and all that. And these were the powers Shango inherited from both his parents. Now, there was an empire known as the Oyo Empire in those days. There were different empires, but the empire in focus is the Oyo Empire, which happens to be the oldest empire in the Yoruba kingdom. Now, the Oyo Empire is headed by a ruler known as the Alafin, and the Alafin happens to be the supreme ruler of the whole empire, and he had all the power. It's believed he was even a representative of the gods here on earth. This particular Alafin was Alafin Ajaka. Ajaka was the second Alafin of the Oyo Empire, but he kept having clashes with a neighboring kingdom known as the Owu Kingdom. Now, the Owu Kingdom is also headed by a cousin of Ajaka who goes by the name Olowu. Olowu and Ajaka were cousins, but they ruled separate empires. Ajaka for the Oyo Empire and Olowu for the Owu Empire. And they were constantly clashing. The whole idea of being a ruler is always scrambling and trying to expand your territory. And history proved that Owu was braver than Ajaka, who is, supposed to be the Alafin of Oyo. And during one of their heated invasions and battles and whatnot, Olowu succeeded in kidnapping Ajaka, which was quite embarrassing. So, a group of people known as the kingmakers in the empire, they go by the name Oyomesi. The Oyomesi is a group of people that come together to bestow power on whoever is the rightful king. They are known as the kingmakers, and they exist until today, which is kind of cool if you think about it. So they solicited the help of Shango, who was present in the kingdom at that time. He was trying to be low-key, and they were like, Shango, our Alafin has been kidnapped and we want you and your powers. We need, the empire needs you. Please get back our Alafin. And because of the loyalty he had for the empire, he decided to take on the mission. He infiltrated the Owu Kingdom, and you had to be there. The battle was beautiful. The battle was beautiful. Just use your imagination. So he succeeded in wielding his axe, invading or infiltrating the kingdom, and warded off as many enemies as he could, and rescued the Alafin, Ajaka. But because the Alafin had vacated his throne and his kidnap showed sign of weakness, he was exiled. So sad. He was exiled and asked not to return to the Oyo Empire because of his failure to protect himself and to protect the throne. And I'm sure you already know who was next in line. Because of the heroics of Shango, the people believe that Shango will be the rightful person to ascend the throne and also be the rightful person to protect them, because, he's the son of a god. Who else would you need to protect you if not the son of a god? And that was how Shango became the third Alafin of the Oyo Empire. So the kingdom prospered, it bloomed. Everybody was going about their business, and Shango was or is known to be temperamental. He's known to act on his anger. Now, during his reign as the third Alafin, he had two trusted generals that went by the name Timi Agbalade and Bonka. Now, these generals were not just ordinary men. For you to be a general very close to a deity like Shango, it means you had to have some specific powers. Timi was an archer. An archer is somebody who works with a bow and arrow. But the divinity of his bow and arrow it wasn't just ordinary. The arrow was actually a flaming arrow. He was shooting arrows of fire, so to speak. So, and Bonka was wielding the same, a similar power, but with a sword. Bonka was wielding a sword of fire, while Timi was wielding, a bow and arrow of fire. And after Shango, these two were the most powerful in the entire kingdom. And of course, Shango, being a paranoid ruler, became afraid of, a revolution. He felt like, these guys are so powerful. What will stop them from trying to usurp the throne from me? Who's there to stop them if both of them decided to team up and try to overthrow me? And he started nursing these feelings. So these feelings of an incoming betrayal or an upcoming betrayal made Shango solicit for the help of his trusted advisor. And this advisor told him, yes, my lord, you might be right. What's to stop them if they decided to gang up against you? I would advise you separate them and treat them as individual threats. That way, there won't be any team up, and you can take on Timi if you had to, or Bonka if you had to, individually. Shango sent Timi away from the palace. He told Timi, head over to the kingdom of Ede. I heard that there are bandits, operating there and running loose. Why not go there and bring calm and stability to that kingdom while Bonka remains with me in the palace? That was the cunningness of Shango. That was the trick Shango decided to employ, because with Bonka close to him and Timi far away, if he needed to carry out any of his dirty plans, it should have been easier to treat them as individual threats. So Timi left for Ede and Bonka remained in the palace. Shango thought of another plot and told Bonka, Timi is currently in Ede and he's now making the people believe that he's more powerful than I am because of his magic or whatever. Please, not really please, he's the king. So he literally ordered Bonka to head over to Ede and challenge Timi to a wrestling match. Not just an ordinary wrestling match, but a wrestling match to the death. Bonka, not willing to disobey his king, decided to head on to Ede for the challenge. And these two battled it out. They fought and fought and fought. And at the end of the day, there was no victor and there was no vanquished. They were evenly matched. And both of them returned to the palace of Shango. So, they could get an explanation as to why Shango suddenly ordered a wrestling match out of nowhere. And on seeing both of them, Shango felt the whole wrestling match was staged, that Bonka had gone to Ede and agreed with Timi to stage a wrestling match to fake not winning or not losing, so they can both return to the palace and overthrow him. Nobody knows why Shango thought like that, or nobody for sure knows why Shango was so paranoid. Probably because of the way or the manner with which he ascended the throne. He felt like he literally robbed it from the Alaafins, the Ajaka's grip. So, on getting to the palace, Shango, dissatisfied with the result of the tournament, decided to host another tournament right there in the heart of the palace and asked the both of them to regain, battle it out to the death. And this time the instructions were there must be a winner. There was no room for a draw. Still loyal to their king, they both got locked in battle. They were so fiercer than they were while they were there. And fortunately or unfortunately, Bonka came out victorious and succeeded in killing Timi. Now, Timi was, he died. Bonka knew in his heart that this was just a plot. He was beginning to catch wind of what Shango was trying to do. While Bonka was still sober with his victory, because it was a bitter victory, Shango was already plotting to burn Bonka for ashes under the accusation of treason. He convinced the entire Oyomese council that Bonka was actually plotting a revolution against him. That was why when he sent him to Ede, there was no winner in that tournament, and Bonka actually sentenced to death. And Bonka was not having it. When Bonka was told by a lover he had in the palace of the king's plan, Bonka fled Oyo. And Shango, not satisfied with, the fact that Bonka fled the palace, sent out scouts and search parties to find him with instructions to kill on sight. Bonka ran for a period of 3 days and decided that he was tired of running, he was sick of running, and he needed to return to the palace and get things cleared for himself. After 3 days, Bonka returned to the palace and demanded Shango vacate the throne because he felt with the underhandedness of Shango, where how Shango was being so cunning and trying to remove him from the picture for no apparent reason. He felt Shango was not fit to be Alafin because he was not honorable. So he did the most foolish thing he could ever think of. He challenged Shango to a fight to the death, no holds barred. I mean, if you're very conversant with WWE, there's something called Extreme Rules. Yeah, so it was a no holds barred, false count anywhere kind of match. There had to be a winner. It wasn't just an ordinary wrestling match. And Shango, knowing that of course he was powerful, agreed. It was supposed to be a no holds match, a no holds barred match, but there was no use of magic. All you had to use was your weapon. So that means he was already removing the power of lightning and of fire from Shango's arsenal. And Shango thinking, yeah, with my axe, I might who's Bonka? Bonka is a small boy. So he agreed to the match and they fought. The battle was said or believed to be so fierce that it was night for about a week. The sun was afraid of coming out because of how fierce the battle between Shango and Bonka was. They both fought for a week straight, neither of them refusing to give up, neither of them refusing to back down. And Bonka was beginning to overpower Shango because he had the military might. He was more skilled in terms of warfare than the Alafin. So he was beginning to overpower Shango, and Shango, not wanting to lose or not wanting to vacate the palace, cheated. Yeah. On the 7th day, Shango summoned thunder, lightning, fire, the whole power of the heavens, and descended on Bonka and succeeded in burning Bonka to ashes. So that was the unfortunate demise of Bonka, and Shango remained on the throne. I know this was not the end you were expecting. We are used to, justice being served and good triumphing over evil and all that. But this goes to show how powerful the deity Shango is, to a point where even when the colonial masters came to the shores of Africa and visited the Oyo Empire, they had to adopt the deity of Shango and return with them. So, I mean, it was more of a trade by barter kind of thing. They gave us Christianity and took Shango as a deity popular amongst the river-dwelling tribes in the Mediterranean and the Caribbean Sea. So Shango remained on the throne, and he had a series of interesting exploits, a series of interesting stories. But this story was just aimed at letting you guys know how his origins were and how he ascended into power to be the third Alafin of Oyo. Thank you very much for staying till the end. I know it was a little long, but I trust the story was interesting because you must have learned something about your culture, especially if you're Yoruba. You must have learned something about your culture you probably didn't know or you probably haven't heard before. Like I said, there are different iterations of the story. There are different tellings of the story because it was passed down through oral tradition. So there are different origin stories and there are different, beliefs of how Shango ascended into power and came into power. I would like to say a big thank you to all those who have already subscribed. If you're new, please do well to subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, do everything you can to get my content out there. I'm really, really going to appreciate it. Also, I'll be visiting other tribes subsequently the moment I'm done with the Yoruba tradition. So, if you would like your tribe to be represented anywhere, no matter where you're from, I'm sure there are beautiful stories from, your area or your ethnicity. So if you would like it to be represented on my channel, do well to visit my comment box, drop your comments. If there are any other areas you want me to improve, also visit my comment section. Thank you so much. Don't forget to pay a visit to our sponsor, Strides and Ripples. The link will be in my description box. And this is it. Until next time.